Have you ever felt like maybe you don't actually belong? Maybe it's at work or even possibly in your home. You ever feel like you're just going through life adrift and not really sure what your purpose might actually be? Well, on this special episode of the Five Squad podcast, I'm doing this solo and I'm here to talk about what it might feel like for you when you feel like that you're lost and you don't know what direction you should actually be going in. Welcome to the Five Squad. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Five Squad podcast. For those out there who do not know who I am, my name is Evan Andrews. And if you have been following us for a little while, you might see that today's episode looks a little bit different. We had a little bit of a scheduling issue, my wife and I did, and I am being forced to do the next couple of episodes as a solopreneur, if you will. So I hope that you guys like these little more intimate settings. We have a few things that are kind of changing with what it is that we're actually going to be doing. And, I took this as an opportunity to really kind of test myself in these aspects in our content creation journey, in, what it is that my wife and I are trying to cultivate here at the Five Squad podcast. But, today is a very special episode because it's something that, I personally kind of struggle with probably more often than I'd like to admit. And that is, the overall feeling of just kind of feeling lost in my path, in my life, in what it is that I feel like I'm supposed to be doing. I think at the end of the day, we all want to know that we're going in the right direction, but it's not always something that we can solidify and we can actually point to, yes, we are going in the right direction. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of identifying those, how to kind of cope and deal with those feelings, and maybe some actionable steps that you can do to kind of get out of those processes. But where I really wanted to start is really understanding and identifying that feeling of being lost, right? Like, really what you have to do first is you kind of have to recognize the signs, right? You have to really understand if you're disconnecting for a specific reason, or maybe it's a lack of motivation, maybe you're just emotionally exhausted. Who knows what it might be, right? But really understanding and recognizing that you are going through one of those things is going to be the first step in the overall process of trying to get out of feeling that way. And I know for me, most recently, I would say in the last maybe 3 or 4 months or so, I definitely go through these peaks and valleys of going through this emotion. More ultimately because I made a big transition shift in my business and kind of the driving engine of what my business was going to be, going forward. For many of you out there, I own and operate a company called Van Drew's Media, where I help small to medium-sized businesses with their online video content, and kind of helping them, generate more impressions, more eyeballs, potentially more leads, different things like that for the process of making video content. And it was about the end of July when I kind of made a shift in what it is that I wanted to do. For the past 2 years, I've been also part-time coaching other videographers on how to actually grow their businesses as well. And I made the decision to kind of go all in on that as the driver of my business and kind of start my own coaching program. And I'll tell you that in making that decision, I had no idea if I was making the right one or not. I still don't know in my day-to-day if that was the right overall decision for me, but it comes with these challenges that every day almost I wake up, some days I feel good, some days I don't. Some days I'm very gung ho on making things work, and then other days, I'm not. Like, I just literally question everything that I chose. Am I doing the right thing? Right? And at the end of the day, I think these are normal. These are normal thoughts of anybody that is a person in any decision that we have to make overall. And I have to always remind myself that if I knew my entire plan, if I knew my entire process, and I knew what, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years from now look like for me, I don't know that actually going through the journey would be as fun, right? I don't know if life would be worth kind of going through if we already knew the paths and the steps forward. So I just remind myself of that all the time. But, you know, I think differentiating between is something like a temporary challenge and why we feel this way, or is it a deeper internal struggle? And really understanding those aspects and what it might be uh, would be the thing that you would probably want to pay attention to mostly. I think for me, in all honesty, I think most of my challenges are temporary challenges. I think everything that I feel like is an issue is something that I have complete and utter control over, which just gives me promise that I can get through what I actually need to and grow the business that I actually want to. So it gives me hope to keep going down the path that whether I chose it or God chose it for me or whatever that might be, just to keep going, right? To not pivot and give up just because I feel a certain way in a particular moment. And other things that can and maybe play into this, and I know especially for me, are the way that our society expects, men, or if you're a woman out there, expects, the societal roles of a woman, what 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 they expect from us, right? And because I am the man of the house, I believe that it is uh my solemn duty to be able to financially provide for my family, be able to pick up slack where maybe my wife for whatever reason has a particular hard month. I mean, she is a teacher, so if there's days past a certain amount that she misses work, she does not get paid. And this is for anybody out there. Like, you don't go to work, you don't clock the hours, you don't get paid, right? So allowing her to be able to have those moments of like, hey, I'm sick today and I can't go to work. Like, I have to be able to make up for that. And I think that can put a lot of pressure on you to feel like kind of lost in your own journey because maybe you think that you're doing it for other people other than yourself. And I guess there's a big give and take with that, right? Especially if you're in a relationship that you actually have, a vested interest in working out. There's give and take in every aspect. But really understanding why you are feeling the way you are is the first step that you have to do to be able to overcome these feelings, right? And and the second biggest part is really how we manage those emotions and those feelings, right? Because I think it's very easy for us to it's very easy for us to fall in pits of sadness or frustration or confusion, right? But it's how do we navigate those waters that really make us who we are and really make those like triumphant stories happen? They say that the best things are forged in fire, right? So you really have to sit with those feelings, those emotions, to really understand where exactly they're coming from. I think at the end of the day, it's really compassion for yourself in those moments, right? And if you're not compassionate towards yourself, how can you expect others to kind of be like that for you, right? So, just really be patient with yourself when you are feeling a certain way about your path forward. I think with a little bit of time and reflection, you'll probably realize that you are on the right path that you should be on. Uh, Now, there's many exceptions to this, right? If you've been in these pits of despair for prolonged periods of time, there may be a different route there that you need to actually have looked at. And that just means that you might have to, console with somebody, right? Really reach out to people that are in your, circles. And if you don't have circles out there, there are people out there that will listen to you, right? Like, for instance, my wife and my kids, they go to therapy a couple of times every month. I'm not a particular person that does go to therapy. I have been actually thinking about it. But I have people that I can lean on in my respective circles if I am having issues or I am having, trouble with stuff. But as men, it's very hard for us to actually pony up and make those things known. I do a really good job with Haley to let her know when I am down about things, and she's really, really good at picking me up in those moments. But you have to reach out for help in when you are feeling certain ways, because you have to get it out of here, right? You have to get out of your own head, because if you're in your own head the entire time, you're just going to stay there. And I know this from very much personal experiences when I've been through different fits of depression where like I didn't get out of my bed for almost a whole week at one point, and it was tough. This was years ago, maybe about yeah. I've had it I think a couple of times where I've went through these fits of depression where I just didn't know if what I was doing was the thing that I actually wanted to do. Was it worth doing, right? And sometimes some of those questions are definitely based on current situations and things like that. And again, these feelings, they come and go, but we have to really sit with them. We have to really understand what we're feeling and understand how to manage them, because if we mismanage them, they keep us stuck in our own brains. And that's just the probably worst place that any individual out there can live in. But, the third part of this is overcoming them, right? And for many, that's rediscovering yourself, rediscovering your purpose, right? So how do we go about doing that? Well, you can set small and actionable goals for yourself, right? So if let's say you're not somebody that works out, right? Let's say that you're somebody who is very sedentary in their day-to-day life, right? Maybe you sit at a desk all day long, or you're on the couch a lot watching more Netflix than you probably should. Well, an easy goal is to, set out a short amount of time, maybe to go take a 10-minute walk, walk around your house, even if that is something that you have to do, right? To the mailbox and back a few times. If you have a dog, maybe the goal is to walk your dog more times in the day than you normally do, right? Setting these small little goals will realign your kind of sense of being able to accomplish things, which may realign your sense and ability to accomplish other things if you're an entrepreneur, or maybe you struggle to go to the job that you have every single day. It just really, it helps you get back on the horse to a certain extent. So, focus on just one little tiny area or tiny bits of areas in your life that you can, change or make a positive impact in. It doesn't have to be big. I think the bigger we shoot for, the more depressed we actually make ourselves because we're not hitting those goals, right? So make the goals small and actionable so that you can get back up on the horse in trying to realign and rediscover yourself. But really explore what brings you joy and happiness in the long run. Like for me, when I initially went through a bit of a depressionary period, I was not somebody that worked out. I was not somebody that had the best diet. I was not somebody that did anything for myself whatsoever. And by changing little habits, by starting to work out, by starting to, eat better, not necessarily go on a diet, but just eat better in general, ditching the sugars like I did, going and playing basketball Saturday mornings with a group of guys. These little things kind of got my mental path back in alignment with what I felt I was. And I got kind of lost in that because I felt like the only thing that I was is I was this job that I was working, or this, entrepreneur that I was trying to be. And I put all of my self-worth in, like making my clients happy, right? Making even my family at the end of the day. Like I didn't go and do certain things for myself. And I don't know that I necessarily felt resentment out of any of those things from like the family aspect, but I did realize and see that I wasn't doing for myself what I felt like I needed to be doing so that I could feel better in my own skin and have my mental clarity be in a place that I actually needed it to be in. But overall, once I started getting into those routines and once I started figuring those things out, you really have to embrace the journey, right? Because without embracing it, it still will feel like you don't know if you're doing things for the right reasons or not. And I think overall, I don't think we actually ever really know that we are doing things for all of the right reasons. I think that a lot of that is left up to our faith, what we believe wholeheartedly that the universe has in store for us. And again, you believe what you believe, right? My wife and I, we believe in God and Jesus as our savior. And even some days, those are tough, right? Because we are human also at the end of the day. But practicing that gratitude within your faith and what you believe in are going to be the paths forward for you to really rediscover and realign what your identity is. as a person. So, I wanted to make this episode because, even currently in maybe the last few weeks of what I've been doing, I go through this, right? Like I actively go through this. I know that my wife goes through this as well. She goes through it in a little bit of a different way than I do, at least what I feel like I'm not in alignment with versus what she feels like she's not in alignment with. Our journeys are starkly and vastly different, but we both go through it nonetheless, right? And we can only be here for each other to help us through that. And even in that, there is only so much that somebody else can do for somebody. The overall end all be all fix in how you overcome and go through this process ultimately comes down to you at the end of the day. So you can't put your faith and you can't put your happiness in other people or expect other people to get you out of particular situations, because it just won't be healthy for you or them in the long run. So I wanted to, again, do this video because it was something that was, I know that I'm currently kind of going through myself. I know that my wife goes through her fits and flows with this as well. And I know that many out there do, whether or not they fully are aware that they go through these struggles and these thoughts and these motions, if you will. But I just wanted to make this video for the people out there that are kind of currently struggling with this. So that brings us to the end of this episode. If you guys liked this episode, please let us know down in the comments below if you like these kind of solo kind of deals, because I don't mind making them. I can create a plan of action and I can sit here and I can talk for 15, 20 minutes, and I'm cool with that, right? My wife and I will have a little bit of a different look, I believe, going forward in a few things. While the podcast studio that we generally operate out of, they're going through a little transition for themselves as well, and that's the reason that we kind of have to do a little pivot in what we're doing right now. But it is what it is, and we have to kind of roll with these flows, right? So make sure that you subscribe if you haven't already. Send this to somebody that may need to hear this message. It's the only way that we're able to actually reach new people, aside what the algorithm there does on YouTube for us. But if you made it this far, again, I appreciate it, and I'm going to leave you guys the same way that we always do, right? And just remember that every day is a new day and a new chance to get it right, to keep pushing forward, and to stay inspired. Until next time.